That smells so
I feel like
good.
it's almost an insult having this bottle on the same table.
Yeah, we won't. Okay. Don't get contaminated.
Teacher man, tell me, what makes for a bad bottle of whiskey? Because you know when you smell it, you know when you smell something you don't like, but objectively speaking, what makes a bad bottle?
This isn't it, by the way.
That's like the polar opposite.
We said it before, the Indians can do some things really well, and this is one of them.
It's the injury, by the by.
The injury, yep.
They do it right.
But what makes for a bad bottle?
Okay, so there's a couple things. There's a few things. Number one, a bad bottle could be just, it doesn't line up with your
palate
flavor profile, what you like on your palate, right? So some things, people, if you watch enough of these videos, right, opinions are like assholes, everybody's got one.
But we've got quite a few.
Got a few. But I try not to ever talk bad about any whiskey just because
it takes a lot of effort.
They made something that I didn't, right? So good on them for making it to begin with. So it could just be you don't like the flavor profile, right? There are other things that go into it as well. It could be you actually got a bad bottle because what happens in the production line as they're adding barrels to their mix, sometimes shit happens and a little too much of said barrel goes in that they didn't account for. They bottle it up thinking it's going to taste a certain way, and then it comes out and it doesn't taste the way they wanted it to, but at that point they're putting it out anyway.
Or storage-wise, the cork could have broke.
Yep, cork's a big one, which is why if you're using regular cork, once a year you should at least wet it, right? So
keep it hydrated.
So whiskey storage. Another one is keeping it out of direct sunlight. That makes whiskey bad.
Keeping it cellared, you don't want it to be too hot.
Yeah, you don't want it in your garage, or you don't want it in a storage unit if you can do that because it's not climate controlled.
Just ask, who was that guy who lost a bunch of really cool whiskey?
Oh, Matt Porter from ADHD Whiskey.
Mercy. That poor man.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's be fair. He's doing all right.
I know he's doing all right, but it's the principle of this.
I know. It sucks losing whiskey. And then there's just some that, you buy stuff without doing homework, right? That's a big one. Because it happens to the best of us. We're in a liquor store. You see something that you've never seen before. You take a chance on something you've never seen before. And once again, it could be a whole plethora of those things. It could be, it just doesn't.
Or it could be a combination of all those things.
Right. And let's talk about this one real quick. Because
Cream of Kentucky is bottled in bond.
Right. So this is their rye.
The most notable note when I smelled that bottle is chalk, and for you, it's the plastic on the really cheap Halloween costumes from your childhood.
Yep. And they make good stuff. I just, unfortunately for them, this is the only bottle I bought. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like it.
You could consider, of the bottles on this table, you would consider this one to be a fluke. This probably wasn't what they intended to put.
There could have been a whole lot going into that bottle that wasn't good.
However, every other bottle on this table was made intentionally.
Yeah, it was made intentionally. And, I've seen more of these. For the life
what
of me,
makes it bad?
For me, it's just it's everything. It's everything.
If you were coaching a new whiskey drinker on identifying a bottle that they didn't like, how would you describe it?
Well, so that's super subjective, right?
Certainly.
So what I used to tell people at the store, especially when they were first getting into whiskey, I'm like, you got one job. If you're just getting into whiskey and you're new, and if you watch videos or you read reviews, those can be helpful. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning, what I used to tell people is like, I want you to do one thing. I want you to buy different bottles and try them. And at first, your only job is to figure out if you like it or if you don't.
And then later on, you can figure out how to describe why you don't like
Correct.
it or don't.
Correct. So in the beginning, do I like it? Do I not like it? And then as you get a little more advanced, why? Why do I like it? What about it do I like? What about it do I not like? And what's for me is something that I'm just not a fan of.
For me, and for you as well, there's two avenues that a whiskey can go down to be considered bad, and you, viewer, can use this when you're trying to describe why you don't like a bottle. The first is that it's way watered down and doesn't taste like anything. That's why we'll never buy like Kentucky Gentleman or Kentucky Deluxe or whatever it's called.
That's just not even bourbon.
First of all, it's mostly vodka.
Yeah, so here's that's the thing. So we've never done, we just like we joked about doing it, but we've never done it.
We should.
So in the whiskey world, especially in American bourbon, if you see on the label blended, right?
And it's American.
Yep, by law, that can be up to 90% neutral grain spirit.
And up to might as well be the minimum.
Yeah, because on one of those, I forget if it's which one, but they actually put on there something like neutral, like 90% neutral grain spirit. Like it's crazy. So if you're just drinking shit to get hammered, that's what those bottles are for. I wouldn't even use them as a mixer.
No, we would consider that, or even more approachable bottles like Jack Daniel's No. 7 or the entry level Jim Beam products as bad bottles because they're not for us. They're too they have their place, but they're too simple.
They serve a purpose. Right?
They serve a purpose,
Yeah.
but the purpose is not something that we engage in. That's avenue number one. Those are bottles that we'd never buy. However, more generally speaking, the bottles that neither you nor I like because of the flavor is when they're overly corn focused.
Yeah, well, so here's what's interesting. So
Yeah.
100%. Like too much corn, and there are just some things like for me that just don't sit well with me. With some of the red corn stuff and some of the blue corn stuff, it can be just too far off the road for me. But it can be done well.
Of course you can.
Lasso Motel 18.
Yeah.
That's a 99.1. That's 99% corn.
However,
1% malted barley.
it's a lot harder to do.
Yeah.
Because every single one of these bottles, except Queen Kentucky, is heavy on the corn in the wrong way.
Yeah, it can. So here's the thing too. So youth can have something to do with it.
Certainly.
Cooperage, heat, but it can be the distillers as well.
Of course. Or the blenders.
Right? Just because they like it. Now, hopefully, if you get into a position of that if you can get into that position, hopefully your palate is to the point where you understand that you're not just blending it because you like it. It's for everybody.
It's for a business proposition.
And for all this, for the store pick stuff that I've sampled before, we just did it a couple years back where we tried those different, what's behind me? 1792?
1792,
right.
Yeah.
We were doing
store picks.
Doing his foolproof store pick, and we went through 4 of them. And, I found them all to be interesting, but I'm like, if this was my store, I'd lean this direction, right? And come to find out it's the one that they picked because it's interesting.
You and I both
but it's approachable.
You and I both like number 2, but it was the less approachable of the 4 that we tried.
Yeah, the one that we agreed on, and come to find out that's what he and his team agreed on as well. For I think the same reasons. It's like, it's not just what I like the best or what's more interesting to me. You got to look at it as a business owner and be like, I've got 300 bottles
that I've
got to sell, right? So it can be it can be the distillers, maybe they cut the heads a little too late, right? Maybe they took a little too much out of the heads, or they were way aggressive on the tails, right? On the cut itself. And then it could just be the region.
Yeah.
Right? When we talked about this a little bit, but like 1693, they're a Texas company. You were just at the distillery.
Yes.
Now they're known, they have a light whiskey, they have a rye, I think a small batch and a full proof. But
and a whole mess of tequila as well now. Tequila.
Oh, do they? Okay. But in the bourbon line, they used to always source from MGP.
Mm-hmm.
So I never bought any of it because it just, for me, it was too low a proof, and it just didn't seem super interesting.
But I was at a cell reception when I was at the distillery. I saw that they had the cash strength bourbon, and it was distilled in Texas. So they were sourced in Texas.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about it a little bit already, but you know, Texas can be much for just about anybody, you know. And so for me, I think what makes really good bourbon is just the balance, right, between the whole drink, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where like when we tried this one, it was just too Texas. And what's too Texas? You know, too much, you know, tobacco and oak and, you know, the things that like Texas whiskeys are really known for, that oak and that it's almost a bitterness to it.
Yeah. At least for me, and then it may be the slight wheat influence on it in combination with the heat, but it always reminds me of like face planting in the yard.
Yeah.
That's what I get, because it tastes earthy in a unpleasant manner.
Yeah, it's definitely different, you know. And then you've got,
that's Slipknot number 9, isn't it not?
Yeah.
Isn't it not?
90 proof, distilled in Iowa. But once again, no shame on Slipknot for getting involved, right? It's just the youth on this just kills it, I think.
That's probably the guiding principle, because youth, and also it being low proof, is what kills whiskey for us.
Yeah, super young whiskey.
Once upon a time, there was a distillery up in Prescott, Arizona, called Some Butte. They are now defunct.
Yeah.
And they were doing something cool, distilled and bottled there.
Yeah, they took a risk by using the Bloody Butcher corn, right?
Chalky.
Yeah, it's hard to.
It's really hard.
It's hard to do, man.
It's very ambitious.
And that bottle I literally just bought because it was local to where you went to university.
Yes, indeed.
You know, we were at one of the best stores and
Ever.
yeah, probably at least in Prescott.
At least in Arizona, I'd say.
Magnum's pretty good too.
It's up there with Magnum,
Yeah.
you gotta admit. Although Magnum's is without compare.
What was that one called?
Park Plaza.
Park Plaza.
Park Plaza Liquor and Deli.
Yeah. Yeah, cool store. If you're ever in Prescott, go there.
But this was, they used to be in business.
Yeah, so they took a swing. Unfortunately, you know, you don't always hit the ball, you know, sometimes you whiff.
And it's the fact of the matter that it's hard to distill whiskey in Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
even in a place with a relatively mild climate like Prescott.
Mm-hmm.
The summers still get up to 95 degrees.
Mm-hmm. Which is a good thing. I just think they took a risk by, you know, this is years ago, you know, and it's like a lot of companies do, you know, like for years that Ambarana stuff, you know, everybody was
Trying it.
because it was the new hot thing, you know, and
But it's really hard to do right.
yeah, some Ambaranas are really good, and going back to what makes a whiskey good or bad, for a lot of people that I used to watch and I would read, you know, for a lot of them, it didn't work. You know, it's the same reason this is a decent analogy I just came up with. You walk down the cereal aisle at the local store. How many types of cereal are there?
A billion.
There's a shit ton, right? And why? Because not everybody likes the same thing. You know, I remember as a kid, when we would get those kinds of cereals, you know, we'd get Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And I love that shit. The cinnamon and the sugar and...
That's why Prego has so many different types of pre-bottled pasta sauce.
Pasta sauces, yeah. It's the same thing. And not everybody's going to like the same...
That's why there's so many.
That's why there's so many. And whiskey's no different. So I guess I didn't really answer your question.
No, you've been dodging my question.
It's real, but because it's really hard. So it could be just doesn't work with your palate. It could be production, it could be storage. I guess at the end of the day,
the only bad bottle of whiskey is one that's spoiled, as in it's been overexposed to air, it's been out in the sun for too long, and it's gone rancid.
it can happen because everything else is subjective.
Yes, everything else is up to the palate and what you like.
And your experience too, right?
Absolutely. However, bottles that will be less popular will, by their very nature, have less of a market share, and you've got to know that when you're getting into the whiskey business. Otherwise, like you gotta feel bad for Thumbview Distillery because they took a big risk and
They took a big swing and they missed, unfortunately, and that's just, and we were talking about it earlier, this MB Roland stuff. Like, I bought it, this was when I was early in whiskey and I didn't know anything about it. And this bottle's 10 years old, dude. And I tried, and I've given away samples, and I'm like, tell me I'm crazy. Like, tell me this is good. And everybody that's drank it's like, no, it tastes like shit. And I'm like, okay, so it's not just me. But they're once again, we just talking about, they're still in business. I still see new bottles that they're putting out on the shelf. So
they have their niche.
So somebody likes it.
Just not for us.
It's just not for us. And, same with the 1693. I haven't tried the stuff that they got from MGP, but I'm guessing it's good.
It's MGP.
Maybe we'll get the full proof one day and, compare to, Indiana versus Texas, same company, right? 1693.
Yeah.
But they source from Indiana, they source from Kentucky. They source from Texas. How big of a difference is there? That should be a good idea.
That's a good idea.
We should do that because I think they're $45.
How reasonable.
Yeah.
Not that bottle. That bottle was $70.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad. When I get some money, I'll give you some.
I appreciate that.
But yeah. But so once again, you don't know. And I guess the only way to really know if you're gonna like something is to try it before you buy it. So smaller stores in particular with their store picks, they generally have some of their store picks open because they want you to taste it and they want you to buy it, right? But I'm not a bar guy, but if, I know they exist, good bars or whiskey bars.
Yeah, where you can go and get like a pour for $8
of something. So if you've ever been on the fence and you don't want to waste money,
go find a bar, get a sample, really sit down, taste with it. If they're worth of salt, they'll give it to you in a proper glass, like a whiskey glass or one Karen, most likely.
Or here's the other thing too, what a lot of people can do. The internet's great. Go online, find some local whiskey clubs. People do bottle shares. I mean, we don't, because I don't know anybody, so
I don't want to share.
I'll share it with you. I'll share if somebody's over, but try to get in touch with a bourbon group or
experiment with your palate.
Yeah, and try different things before you go in and buy them. Because I'm the opposite. I went in just throwing money and buying shit, and most of the time it works out. Right, but sometimes it doesn't.
Incompatible.
Yep, it just doesn't work, and then I'm too cheap just to pour shit out.
I would talk you out of it too, because I'm too cheap too.
Yeah, I figure it's my money. We already spent it.
Might as well
or at least have it.
Might as well use it for archival purposes.
Yeah, maybe somebody will like it, right?
With all that being said, it seems like single malt's never bad.
Oh, in the Scotch world?
Because it's a single malt. I've never had a bad bottle of Scotch.
Well,
single malt.
But here's the thing, though, too, right? So for us, like there's a couple people on the whiskey tubes and stuff where they're all about bourbon and
Scotch.
Not really about single malts or Scotch and stuff. And it's if all you're into is whiskey. We talked about it before with like when I bought the Ardbeg and the Lagerwood 16s and some of the Lefroy stuff, and I purposely didn't want to get that vested into single malts and whatnot because I got enough problems here. I spend way too much fucking money on just this, and if I went down the rabbit hole of Scotch, oof,
you'd have that whole corner set aside for Scotch.
Yeah, I'd have to get more stuff, more
shelving
and stuff. But yeah, anyway, if you don't have it,
By the injury.
by the injury.